Okada versus Bryan Danielson. Stunning thing is that this whole thing, Bryan being in New Japan, was what it is one of the few catalysts of why Bryan left WWE. Because Bryan reportedly always wanted to go wrestle in Japan, and WWE and their clashing philosophies with collaboration and all that, unless it involves subjugating the entire promotion under their iron rule to establish an NXT brand. And then Vince took back power from Triple H because he couldn't kill AEW, so that kind of was a thing. And then it led to this Game of Thrones-esque politicking gaming between the two between Vince and Triple H and yada yada. But they were always trying to keep Bryan in WWE, doing everything they could, offering him, okay, what do you want? Money? Okay, you can have money. I want to bleed. Bryan, you know we don't do that. We can't allow like intentional bleeding on TV, right? Well, I want to bleed. I can't do that. And then Bryan wanted to work in Japan, specifically New Japan Pro Wrestling. WWE was like, okay, we can do an exclusive partnership. Nope, they didn't accept it. Okay, how about you don't get that and we give you more money? And Bryan once again said, nah, I'm good. I got money. And WWE was more or less trying to give him any offer they could. Trying to give him any offer. And even went as far as to see if they can at least get an exclusive deal with Bryan to allow him to wrestle in Japan. And New Japan, and that clearly didn't happen. But, now here we are, several years later, after an AEW run going on strong, and this is his last year as a full-time wrestler. Bryan Danielson has finally made it to Japan to fight the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada, in a rematch for the ages, because they had their first match at the Forbidden Door, where Bryan surprised the world, not only bringing back his iconic theme song, "It's the final countdown, the final countdown," and all that. Much to everyone's rejoice to see that song again. Sadly, it did not come back for Wrestle Kingdom, unfortunately. Tragic. But, yeah. Bryan tapped out Okada, which is a rare thing in New Japan Pro Wrestling, especially for him overall. That tells you a lot. And he did it with a broken arm. Legitimately. So Kurt Angle won an Olympic gold medal with a broken freaking neck. Well, Bryan Danielson tapped out Okada with a broken freaking arm. My God, it was pretty bad. So Bryan was out, then came back, then fought Okada again in a tag team match. Then Okada or Orange Cassidy destroyed his orbital bone in his eye. And we weren't sure at the time what happened. Like, was Bryan legit selling or was he really hurt? Since Bryan likes to do this kind of thing. So we didn't have that. So we still have the element of is this a work? Is this a shoot turned work? Or is this a work turned shoot? And Okada, because last year he finally remembered, oh yeah, I need to have a personality. Because he spent the year getting into basically bar fights with another Japanese wrestler at Pro Wrestling Noah, more or less on TV. And it was awesome. Okada having a personality beyond the Rainmaker was a blessing to see. And then Bryan came back from the orbital bone. Not really, he was still with an orbital bone broken, to compete in the C2 Climax. He had an orbital bone during this, you know that, right? He even wrestled with a broken freaking arm again against Ricky Starks, pouring buckets of blood. You gotta wonder how his wife is narrating this madness. But yeah, it all comes to this. Bryan, before the C2 climax even started, announced he was challenging Okada at Wrestle Kingdom with a broken orbital bone. I would like to stress for the moment that Bryan is freaking insane. So yes, Okada, Bryan, let's get it on. And we knew Bryan, what Bryan's capable of. He's an awesome technical master of the ring, and he gets to fulfill one of his lifelong goals of wrestling in New Japan, especially with the rest of the Tokyo Dome, wanting to wrestle against the very best, Okada, especially there. And now he got the chance to do it for the first time since 2004, since he was the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champion. To see this match, I didn't watch it live. I was asleep because I am not, because unlike other fans who will sleep for a few hours and then get up, I have to unfortunately have a job that requires me to be up, and I am already stressed enough with sleep issues as is. Intentionally staying up would be a disaster waiting to happen for me. So I watched this on the New Japan World app after the show and all that, and finally got around to watching it. It's Okada and Bryan. Do I have to say any more? Okay, that was the video, everyone. Let's what, you need more? Okay. Okada and Bryan tore it down. They tore it down. Like, I saw Dave Meltzer give this a big, massive rating, like probably up to, from what I've seen, probably up there with Omega and Okada series, which says a lot. But we don't really care about Dave Meltzer's ratings. They're not the be all end all of wrestling ratings. So yeah. But yeah, when I heard when I saw this match, I was just like, oh god. These guys are awesome. Like, as much as I hark on Okada and how his character has been presented to us in the post 2-year reign, and after he came back with the Rainmaker, after he had a personality and then he lost it, being the Rainmaker again, and then he regained it because shoot turned into a full-on fight. And then they said, let's turn it into a story and make Okada a borderline villain attitude with this. And Okada now no longer contending for just the IWGP Heavyweight title or the World Belt. I'm not even the Butterfly Belt. Oh god. But yeah, Okada. Oh, he had more personality in this match. Like, he is a goddamn great wrestler, and considering that there's reports going around that he has expressed interest that I could leave New Japan and go somewhere else, which if they lose him generally, I think this will massively hurt New Japan Pro Wrestling, because this is their guy, their franchise player. It'd be the equivalent of Hulk Hogan going to WCW, except this time a company won't get bankrupt for it. But yeah. So Okada and Bryan. You know, I kept thinking for a moment Bryan was going to start crying because he was here at the Tokyo Dome, finally living out one of his bucket lists to fulfill. That proved that, yes, I left WWE for this raw passion, and I don't need to do anything disturbing to do it. And he was trying to give Okada back a ton with the broken arm and broken orbital bone. So yeah, that was fun. And Bryan was going all in on that, pun intended. And Okada, yeah, he was really toying with Bryan's impaired vision. where where half his face was covered. If you saw him in the C2 Climax, the Continental Classic, it was madness for him. And bleeding buckets as always. But yeah. Bryan, I'm gonna be real, had Bryan beat Okada 2-0, I would have honestly been stunned that New Japan would give him that kind of power, that kind of respect, to let Okada lose twice clean. Like, they didn't even do that with Omega. Like, they had to do Okada wins, LOL, Okada and Omega draw, then Omega wins, then Omega wins finally in their fourth match. And the third one wasn't even for the title. It was a G1 Climax match. And that's also the year when Kenny Omega got vertigo, and he was still wrestling at the extraordinary level that he was wrestling in, because he's insane. But Bryan, this guy has all these injuries building up on him. Time is catching up. His child is about to turn 7 this year, I believe. But yeah, it's going to be a wild ride to see him at the end of the sunset. Mostly as a full-time wrestler. He says he wants to do 5 to 10 matches a year afterwards. So he'll wrestle more than Roman Reigns that he does as a year. So shoot there. So yeah. But as expected, Okada got his win back. He defeated Bryan after going through 2 Rainmakers. Yeah, he took 2 Rainmakers, and Bryan was one tough SOB, and then they gave their bow of respect for each other. Like, like that was pure respect, doing the honorable way of Japan wrestling, of Japanese wrestling, strong style. And yeah, to see this was a great match. It's a phenomenal technical match. I had been hyped to see this, just to see, because originally Bryan was supposed to be at the shows for New Japan to build this match up, but you know, he was injured, so they had Bryan decide to go ahead and get injured, because of course he did. But to go film this in the freaking desert, because he needs to film himself being in the freaking desert for some reason. Yeah, I get why he's trying to make the point of the opposite of a wetland, but to dry land. But it's just that Dolph Ziggler was at the show. I was surprised by that. But yeah, I was seeing Bryan and Okada do one last match. I don't know if this is the last match entirely. I could see a third match down the road. But if this was the last match, it went out in a perfect way, as perfect as you can get. But Okada's future, however, is still up in the air. If he leaves New Japan, WWE reportedly wants to offer him a deal. Good luck with that. And apparently the only reason they're pushing Nakamura the way he is because they want to give him the incentive of, see, we're not stereotyping of Japanese wrestlers and stupid gimmicks, or making them dumb, or making them hate America, because Vince is was still operating like it's the goddamn 40s because he was born in that time. Goddamn. But yeah, I don't see Okada going to WWE unless there was a really massive incentive offer, and Cena's retired. Cena's more or less retired and can't go at that level he could anymore. Oh, and Hiroshi Tanahashi's now the president, so hurrah! It's still surreal. And now, I could see Okada going to AEW if it really made the offer. Certainly, I would be all for it, because I feel like Okada, just like Jay White got, was in need of a change of scenery. He should have been done with New Japan for, in my honest opinion, after he done the Olympic torch. After that, it's more or less, okay, where do we go from here? I'm still on that opinion. When he was told, you're gonna carry the Olympic torch for Japan, represent the torch of Japan for the Olympics. That was the moment I said, okay, Okada peaked, didn't he? There's nothing left to do. There's literally nothing left to do in Japan for him. Like, I know his wife is an actress, and I get if that's the reason that keeps him around, but I'm sure they can find something out to work out on that. But he could probably get the Kota Ibushi contract, and the less I talk about Ibushi for what happened in Pro Wrestling Noah, the better. So, yes, Okada Bryan Danielson is a phenomenal match. You should definitely check it out. Even with me telling you how it ended, it's still a technical super fight. And I can't wait to see what happens next with these two. Will Okada go somewhere else? Will he stay in New Japan? Will Bryan Danielson finally get a match with Will Ospreay, goddammit? And probably do something crazier? Because let's be real, he will. Who knows? And honestly, who cares? Because we're going to probably get it anyways. It's probably on his list of, okay, I got to wrestle Will Ospreay next. I already got Zack Sabre Jr. on my list, so that was passed. I got Okada twice. Okay, that's on the list. I got Minoru Suzuki already. I beat him on the buy-in, so that was cool. Will Ospreay? Yeah, I could do it. I could fight him. I could do him too, but that would probably get me in trouble with the networks. I'll put that as a maybe. But the wrestling part, we'll do that. I gotta also fight Jay Whitehall, because let's be real, I want to see that. Personally, for me, I want to see Bryan Danielson fight Jay Whitehall. Just go at it. Blackpool Combat Club versus Bullet Club Gold. Let's effing go. As for Okada, he's set to fight Will Ospreay at their next big event. So that's going to be exciting. But after that, we don't know. We'll see. But yeah, this was your host, Eric Brown of NRE, Near Reality Entertainment, NRE The WrestleVerse, presenting Okada versus Danielson, round 2. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, check out my content in the description below. Stay tuned for more. I'll see you all again next time. Peace and take care. And I hope the rest of your weekend goes well. Peace.